Keep awake, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. Take my lips and speak through them. Take our ears and hear through them. Take our hearts and set them on fire with love for thee. May I speak in the name of the living God. Amen. Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven will be like this." 10 women were invited to be bridesmaids at a wedding. Weddings in ancient times involved the whole community. The couple didn't go away for a honeymoon. The groom's family hosted a week-long celebration. People didn't work. The bride and the groom were treated like royalty, and the bridesmaids were the belles of the ball. Eastern weddings often took place at night. The bridegroom would arrive at the bride's house and take her in procession to his home. There was an element of surprise to it. It was the bridesmaid's honor and duty to carry the lamps to light the procession. It was a beautiful and festive affair. Lamps back then, of course, required oil. 5 bridesmaids, designated as wives, prepared for the wedding, not only by getting a dress and doing their hair, but also by filling a flask with oil. Who knew when the bridegroom would arrive? In the end, he was delayed, but no worries, they were prepared. The 5 foolish bridesmaids also dressed and did their hair and gathered with the first. They took their lamps, but they figured, tomorrow would be soon enough to get the extra oil. As it turned out, the bridegroom was delayed. Well, who knew for how long? And meanwhile, they were enjoying the company of the other bridesmaids, and it was warm in the glow of their lamps, and eventually all 10 fell asleep. At midnight came the cry, "Look, here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him." All the bridesmaids awoke. Eagerly, they prepared their lamps, but the foolish realized they had run out of oil. "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out," the foolish say to the wise. "No," say the wise, "there will not be enough for you and for us. You'd better go to the dealers and find some for yourselves." The foolish bridesmaids later return with their oil, but it's too late for the bridal procession. The banquet is already taking place in laughter and song behind closed doors. "Lord, Lord, open to us," they call. But he replied, "Truly I tell you, I do not know you. Keep awake, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour." My mom never liked this parable. "You don't?" I asked. "No, I just know I'd be one of the bridesmaids who ran out of oil." I can relate. Ever run out of gas? I remember literally running on fumes trying to make it to the gas station right outside the Holland Tunnel in New Jersey. Oh my goodness. Talk about a white knuckle ride. I used to think my best friend's dad was so over the top growing up because he made her top off the gas tank whenever it got a quarter of a tank down. Of course, now he's one of my life teachers, a blessed memory. Almost run out of gas at the incredible intersection at the entrance to the Holland Tunnel connecting New Jersey to New York, and you will see Mr. Lemieux knew what he was talking about. Top off the tank, friends. Who hasn't been caught off guard by the unexpected? I will wager that many of us have been running out of gas lately, or oil, in the image of the parable, waiting for ballots to be counted. Like the bridesmaids, we discovered we were unprepared for the foreseeable, but yet still unexpected delay. Half of us were sure the election would go one way, the other half were sure it would go another, but instead of an immediate and decisive victory for anybody, the numbers slowly trickled in. We had to wait. We watched the tallies on election night, checked the updates on our phones, and finally, like bridesmaids, fell asleep, only to wake up to wait some more. And we're still waiting, okay, maybe no longer for the count, just but to see how America will respond to this in-between time. We're not the only people who have had to wait. Matthew wrote his gospel 30 to 40 years after Jesus' resurrection. They thought Jesus would be returning soon, quickly, but he was unexpectedly, at least to them, delayed. The people were no closer to a kingdom of justice and peace. Rome was still in power. The poor were still exploited. The Roman military was still keeping dissidents in line. Some of the people were running out of oil, running on empty. Others were preparing for the kingdom they awaited by doing the work of the kingdom here and now, the work that love and justice require. When the harsh realities of the world seem far away from the transformation that God promises, we must do more than fall asleep and wait for God to come and make it right. We must wake up, trim our wicks, pour our oil, light our lamps, and do the transformative work. Do the transformative work of liberation, of reconciliation, of peacemaking, and not wait for others to do it for us. Expect delays, said Jesus. Factor them in. But don't fall asleep on the job. Be ready. Keep awake, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. For those who keep awake and who prepare, the door to God's realm is always open. Always. Even now. Matthew decided to use the delay he and his community were facing by telling the story of Jesus. Tell me the old story of Jesus and his glory. Tell me the old story of Jesus and his love. Matthew decided he'd tell the story of Jesus, and more than that, he decided he would even write it down. He could have done otherwise. He could have protested the unexpected delay. He could have held a complain and remain grievance session. Instead, he chose to praise and be raised. If there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. That's what he did. He used the unexpected delay, the delay of the kingdom, to tell us about the kingdom, to proclaim the good news of the kingdom for which he waited. He filled his lamp with the oil of faith, and his words have been a lamp unto our feet and a light upon our paths for 2,000 years and counting. Use the delay, friends. Wow. Speaking of counting, 2,000 years and counting, we've had a lot of counting. So what's next? What are you doing with this time? How are you doing with all of this? I mean, all of it. It's been challenging. How do we live between the already and the not yet? Maybe no longer of the election and its result, then between the result and the inauguration, of the pandemic and its cure, of life and its end. How do we live alert, awake, prepared for the unexpected? I had a living parable experience of this my first year of college. I was running across the campus for the bus, and I saw this small group of conservatively dressed people on the lawn, and they looked lost and were obviously trying to flag me down. And so I stopped. You look in a hurry, they said. I am. I said, do you need help? Well, on our way here, we saw this accident, they said. Huh? Yeah, it was pretty bad, and we think some people may have died. You can imagine my face. What on earth were these people talking about, and what did it have to do with me? We wondered, have you thought about where you're going when you die? Wow, talk about unexpected. I am flying in my own world when suddenly, wham, these people thought that they, like Matthew and Jesus before them, would throw out a parable to shake things up. Look, here's the bridegroom. Come out and meet him. We startle awake, never realizing we'd been asleep. The Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour, like a thief in the night, says Jesus. You know neither the day nor the hour. These end-time parables make us uncomfortable, like my raincoat-clad visitors who wanted to point out that I would meet God when I died. And I wanted to point out that I was meeting God in the here and now just fine, thanks. And of course, we were both right. I was fairly put out by them at the time, but I've never forgotten it, which I think is what they had in mind all along. They wanted me to live with God in mind, so that when I got to the end, God wouldn't look at me and say, "Who are you?" Like the bridegroom said to the foolish bridesmaids, "I don't know who you are." There are things that can't be borrowed, friends. This isn't a cup of sugar. A relationship with God is one of those things that can't be borrowed. Character is another. Physical fitness is another, unfortunately. Knowledge, another. The truth is, if we don't get to know God in the here and now, we're not likely to know God anyplace else. Because here and now is where we are. This is where life is being lived. Jesus doesn't want us to live anxiously waiting for the other shoe to drop, constantly looking over our shoulder, door alarm 24 hours a day. He wasn't a gloom and doom preacher. He left that to John the Baptist. But he does want us to keep awake. He's not above shocking us into it. He wants us to live deeply enough to be able to meet the unexpected with a modicum of oil, a portion of oil. To be so alert to his presence that even when we don't see him, we know he's there and we're ready to meet him when he comes. We're not to live anxiously. We're to live expectantly. Like the Navy wives I watched growing up, waiting for their husbands to come home from the sea. Veterans Day is Wednesday, and I'm thinking about military families to whom we owe so much. Thank you. I grew up in a military family, so I know that everybody serves, not just the one in the service. My mom, like the other Navy moms we knew, did not haunt the docks when the men were away. They took care of the kids and the house. They wrote letters and helped us write letters and read us letters and kept the oil of love and connection burning bright. They lived the daily round with an inner alertness, looking forward to the day when the delay would be over and living attentively and expectantly until it came. Watching and waiting for God to act, for God to come, is like watching and waiting for a loved one to come home. It is learning to live with an inner awareness and expectancy of soul underneath the faithful living of the daily round. Eyes on the prize, holding on to hope, carrying out the tasks God has given us to do with gladness and singleness of heart. These are tough times. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's hard to wait for the pandemic to end, for the vaccine to come, for the election to be completely and fully resolved. People are stressed out. Maybe God has given us this delay so that we can rest and refill our spiritual lamps, a Bible study buddy wrote me on Wednesday. Stop the hate for a few days to remember the love and the things other than politics that are so important to us that we need to prepare so that we are ready when the announcement is made. As we fill our lamps with faith, we will be ready for whatever God sends. And we pondered together how power would be wielded in the days and weeks to come. Luckily, we know the power of love, she wrote in caps, and the power of the one who is truly in charge. She's filling her flask for whatever's to come, friends. Oil. The oil of faith. Saints, we're called to live faithfully in the in-between times, in patient endurance, in steadfast faith, in heartfelt courage. We are people of love and caring, a veteran wrote me this week. There is no better way to narrow the divide than by actually living that care and love. Mission accepted, he said. Lead on, O King Eternal, till sin's fierce war shall cease, and holiness shall whisper the sweet amen of peace. For not with swords loud clashing, nor roll of stirring drums, but deeds of love and mercy, the heavenly kingdom comes. Mission accepted.